was a cold evening. The wind blew hard and the sky was dark with heavy clouds. People rushed past each other, covering their heads and walking fast to get home. But outside the city's biggest hospital, one little girl stood alone in the cold. Her name was Rena, just 8 years old. She wore thin clothes and had no jacket. Her hands were red from the cold. In her small arms, she held the hand of her mother, Sana, who was lying on the ground, unconscious and breathing weakly. "Please help us," Rena cried out, tears running down her cold cheeks. "My mom is very sick. Please save her. I will. Pay later, please, please." People walked by but didn't stop. A few glanced at her but kept going. No one wanted to get involved. The hospital lights shone bright, but the doors remained closed. Rena tried to pull her mother toward the entrance, but Sana was too heavy. Her small arms shook. She cried louder, "Somebody, please open the door." Finally, a nurse came out. She looked at the scene and frowned. "Why is she lying there?" the nurse asked without much feeling. "She is my mama. She can't breathe. Please take her inside. Please help." The nurse looked at the girl's clothes and dirty shoes. "Do you have money?" she asked. Rena shook her head. "No, but I promise I will pay. I will find a way. Please just save my mama." The nurse sighed and went back inside. A minute later, she came back with a security guard. "We can't treat your mother if you don't have money," the nurse said coldly. "This is a private hospital. Rules are rules." "She's dying," Rena shouted. "She's dying." The security guard moved closer. "You need to leave. Go somewhere else." "I have no one, no papa, no family, only mama," Rena whispered. Her voice was broken. Her hands shook harder. She knelt beside her mother and cried, "Please wake up. Mama, please, I'm scared." Cold wind blew through her hair. She held her mom's face and kissed her forehead. "Please don't leave me. I'll be a good girl. I'll listen. Please wake up." People inside the hospital kept watching through the glass, but no one came to help. Some nurses whispered. Others rolled their eyes. "She's probably lying," one nurse said. "No one will pay us for that patient." Rena didn't know what else to do. She stood up and cried loudly, "Help, please!" And then a long black luxury car stopped near the entrance. The engine went quiet. The door opened slowly. A tall man stepped out. He wore a black coat and polished shoes. His eyes were serious. His face looked calm. But something inside him was changing fast. His name was Zion Khan. People knew him as one of the richest men in the city. Owner of hospitals, malls, companies, everything. But today, he was just visiting the hospital to check on a business deal. He had no idea he was about to meet a girl who would change his life forever. Zion looked at the little girl. She stood there in front of her mother, crying loudly. Her small voice shook in the wind. He watched her for a few seconds. Something in her face felt familiar. He couldn't understand why, but his heart felt heavy. His breath slowed down. The security guard stepped toward the girl again. "I said leave." "Wait," Zion said in a deep voice. The guard froze. Everyone turned to look at him. Zion walked slowly toward the girl. His eyes stayed fixed on her small shaking body. "What's going on here?" he asked the nurse. "She has no money, sir. We can't treat her mother." Zion looked down at the girl. She didn't even see him. She was holding her mother's hand tightly and whispering, "Please wake up, Mama. I'm scared." His heart stopped for a moment. That face, those eyes. Why did this girl look so familiar? "Take the woman inside," Zion ordered. The staff looked surprised. "But sir, I said take her in right now." The nurses ran outside with a stretcher and lifted Sana up. Rena looked up finally and saw Zion. She didn't know who he was, but she stepped forward and held his coat. "Thank you, sir." "Thank you." Zion knelt down. "What's your name?" "Rena." "And your mother's name?" "Sana." The name hit him like a thunderbolt. Sana. His eyes went wide. He stood still for a second, then slowly turned to watch them take the woman inside. The name echoed in his mind. Could it be her? Zion felt the wind again, colder than before. This was not just a random child. Something deep inside told him this was not just a coincidence. To be continued. Zayan stood near the hospital entrance, staring at the doors where they had just taken Sana inside. His heart felt heavy in his chest. He kept hearing that name, Sana. It had been more than 10 years, but he still remembered. The only woman he ever loved. The woman who had disappeared without a word. And now, a poor girl named Rina standing in the cold, holding her sick mother's hand. A mother named Sana. He shook his head, trying to stay calm. Maybe it was just a coincidence. Sana was a common name, right? But that girl, Rina. There was something in her eyes. Something familiar. Zayan followed the nurses down the hallway as they rushed Sana to the emergency room. Rina walked beside her mother, holding her hand, refusing to let go. She'll be okay now, one nurse told Rina gently. But will she wake up? Rina asked. She's in good hands, sweetheart, the nurse replied. Zayan waited outside the emergency room, watching everything. His phone buzzed, but he ignored it. His business meetings could wait. Right now, something much bigger was happening. He sat on a bench nearby. Rina sat across from him, quiet now, but her eyes were red from crying. Zayan leaned forward. Rina, can I ask you something? She looked at him and nodded. How long has your mother been sick? 3 days, Rina said softly. She couldn't breathe well. We had no money to go to a doctor. Zayan felt a lump in his throat. And your father? Rina looked down. I don't know him. Mama said he left before I was born. That answer hit him like a punch in the chest. She never talked about him? Zayan asked, trying to stay calm. Rina shook her head. She just said he was rich, but he never came back. Zayan's heart began to race. He leaned back slowly. Was it possible? Could he be her father? He looked at Rina again. Her face, her eyes, even her little nose. All of it felt so familiar. He remembered Sana's smile, her laughter, the way she used to hold his hand and talk about the future. But one day she was gone, just vanished. He had searched for her, asked friends, hired people to look, but no one could find her. He thought maybe she had moved to another country, and now she was here, sick, poor, and with a daughter who might be his own child. He took a deep breath. Rina, he said gently, what does your mama do? She cleaned houses, Rina said. Sometimes she worked in shops, but people didn't pay her well, so we had to sleep outside sometimes. Zayan closed his eyes for a second. He felt guilt burning inside him, while he lived in mansions and traveled in private jets. The woman he once loved had suffered, and maybe his own daughter had cried herself to sleep in cold nights. He stood up and walked over to the nurse's station. I want the best doctor to check on the woman who just came in, he said. Her name is Sana. She's in room 14. Yes. Sir, the nurse replied. We've already started, but she's weak. We're running more tests. I'll cover all costs, Zayan added. He went back to the bench. Rina looked up at him. Are you an angel? She asked. Zayan's heart broke. No, he said softly. Just someone who wants to help. They sat quietly for a while. Then, a doctor walked out of the emergency room. Zayan and Rina jumped up. She's stable now, the doctor said, but she needs rest and some medicine. We'll keep her under observation. Can I see her? Rina asked quickly. Soon, the Bayat doctor smiled. She's sleeping now. Zayan let out a deep breath of relief. He looked at the little girl beside him again. Could it really be true? He needed to find out. He had to be sure. And if it was true, if this little girl was his daughter, then everything in Zayan Khan's world was about to change, forever, to be continued. Zayan couldn't sleep that night. He sat in the hospital hallway, waiting. Doctors had moved Sana to a private room. Rina had fallen asleep on a small bench nearby, using Zayan's coat as a blanket. He kept watching her as if she might disappear. Could she really be his daughter? Too many thoughts were racing in his head. He stood up and quietly walked to Sana's. The nurse at the door nodded. She's awake now, but very weak. Zayan walked in slowly. Sana lay on the hospital bed, her face pale but her eyes open. And when she saw Zayan, her mouth opened in shock. She tried to sit up. "Zayan," she whispered. Zayan walked closer and nodded. "It's me, Sana." Her eyes filled with tears. How did you find me?" "I didn't," he said quietly. "Your daughter found me." Sana's lips trembled. She stood in the cold, crying for help. "I saw her, and then I saw you." Sana looked away. "You weren't supposed to see me again." "Why?" Zayan asked softly. "Why did you leave? Why didn't you tell me?" Sana closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I was scared," she said after a moment. "Your family hated me. They told me you were going to be married to someone else. I thought you moved on." Zayan's hands turned into fists. "No one told me anything. I searched for you, Sana, for years." "I didn't want to ruin your life," she said in a broken voice. "When I found out I was pregnant, I had nothing. No home, no money. I worked wherever I could. I kept moving." Zayan sat beside her. "You should have told me," he said, his voice shaking. "I wanted to," Sana whispered, "but I was ashamed." They sat in silence for a few seconds. Zayan finally asked, "Is Rena my daughter?" Sana turned her head slowly toward him, her eyes full of guilt, fear, and truth. "Yes," she said. "She is yours." Zayan felt his chest tighten. He had a daughter, 8 years old, and he never knew. His mind flashed with memories, all the birthdays he missed, the school days, the nights she might have cried for food or warmth. He stood up and walked to the window. The city lights sparkled far away. "I want to be part of her life," he said firmly. Sana looked at him with tired eyes. "She doesn't know. I never told her." "I'll take care of both of you," Zayan continued. "You won't live like this anymore. No more pain. No more cold nights. No more begging for help." Sana turned her face away. "What if she hates you for not being there?" Zayan looked back at her. "Then I'll earn her love, day by day." At that moment, Rena walked into the room, rubbing her eyes. "Mama?" she said sleepily. Sana smiled weakly. "Come here, my love." Rena ran to her and hugged her gently. Then she looked up and saw Zayan standing there. "Is Mama okay now?" she asked him. Zayan nodded. "She's going to be fine." Rena smiled. "Thank you, mister." Zayan knelt down in front of her. "Can I ask you something, Rena?" he said kindly. She nodded. "If you had a father who loved you very much, would you forgive him for not being there?" Rena thought for a moment. "If he came back and made Mama smile," she said, "then yes, I would." Zayan looked at Sana. Her eyes filled again with tears. He turned back to Rena. "Then maybe, would it be okay if I stayed near you and your mom for a while?" Rena tilted her head. "Like a friend?" Zayan smiled. "Yes, like a friend." She nodded. "Okay. But friends bring chocolate." They all laughed gently, even Sana through her tears. But deep in his heart, Zayan knew this was only the beginning, and he was going to do everything to fix what was broken. To be continued. Zayan stood at the window of the hospital room, watching the sunrise. A soft orange light filled the sky, but inside his heart, there was a storm of emotions. He still couldn't believe it. He had a daughter, and her name was Rena. Behind him, Sana slept peacefully. She needed rest after so many hard days. Rena lay curled up on the couch, holding Zayan's jacket like it was a warm teddy bear. Zayan had not gone home. He stayed by their side all night. As the morning grew brighter, Rena opened her eyes. She saw Zayan sitting nearby and rubbed her eyes. "You're still here?" she asked softly. Zayan smiled. "Of course, I promised to stay near you and your mama, remember?" Rena nodded slowly. "Are you really rich?" she asked, her voice curious. Zayan chuckled. "Yes, I have a lot of money. But I didn't know. I was missing the most precious thing in my life." Rena tilted her head. "What's that?" Zayan looked right into her eyes. You. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she looked down. Why didn't you come earlier? She whispered. Mama always cried at night. Zion's heart broke. He knelt in front of her. I didn't know, Rena. I didn't know about you. But now that I do, I promise I will never leave you again. She looked at him. Even if I'm not perfect? Zion hugged her gently. You are already perfect to me. A tear rolled down her cheek. She quickly wiped it. Okay, she said, with a small smile. But you still have to bring chocolate. Zion laughed. Deal. Just then, the doctor walked in. She's doing much better, he said about Sana. With proper care, she'll recover fully. But she needs rest. Zion nodded. Don't worry, I'll make sure she gets the best care. The doctor smiled. You're lucky. Your daughter was brave. Zion looked at Rena with pride. Yes, she is the bravest girl I've ever met. Later, that day, Zion stepped out of the hospital for a while. He had something important to do. He called his assistant. Find me a good house, he said. Warm, safe, near a school. I want it ready today. Yes, sir, the assistant said. For you? No, Zion said, for my family. He went to a nearby toy shop and bought dolls, clothes, and of course, lots of chocolate. Then he walked into a clothing store and got Sana and Rena warm jackets and cozy shoes. He returned to the hospital carrying bags filled with love. Rena's eyes lit up when she saw the gifts. Is this all for me? Zion smiled. Only the beginning. Sana was awake too. When she saw everything, she tried to speak. Zion, this is too much. We can't take all this. You're not taking anything, he said gently. I'm giving it, because you're my family. Because I should have been there years ago. Sana looked at him. Are you sure, Zion, this is not just sympathy, right? Zion sat beside her. No, it's not sympathy, it's love. I missed 8 years of my daughter's life. I won't miss another day. There was silence in the room for a moment. Then Rena asked softly, Does that mean you're my dad? Sana froze. Her heart beat fast. Zion looked at Rena and nodded slowly. Yes, Rena, I'm your real father. She stared at him, then stood up, walked slowly toward him, hugged him tight. Zion held her close, his eyes full of tears. I love you, Baba, Rena whispered. Zion closed his eyes. I love you too, Mary Betty. In that moment, all the pain, all the distance, all the cold nights and sad mornings, they melted. They were not strangers anymore. They were a family. But what Zion didn't know was that someone from his past had just seen a photo of him with Rena and Sana on social media. And that person was not happy. To be continued. Zion sat at the hospital cafe with a coffee in his hand. His eyes were tired, but his heart felt full for the first time in years. He had a daughter. He had a family. He looked at his phone and smiled at the picture he had just posted, Rena sitting beside Sana's hospital bed, both smiling. A small caption read, My family, my everything. Within minutes, the post began to go viral. People commented, So sweet. This made me cry. True love finds its way. But far away, in a luxury apartment across the city, one woman looked at that photo, and her face twisted in rage. Her name was Maya, Zion's ex-fiancée, the one he left years ago. She stared at the screen, her perfectly manicured fingers tightening around a glass of wine. What is this? She whispered. She zoomed in on the little girl. Rena. She had Zion's eyes. His smile. Did he have a child behind my back? She said out loud, furious. With her. She remembered Sana, the simple girl from Zion's college days, the one Maya always saw as beneath him. Now that girl had his heart, his daughter, his fortune. No, Maya hissed. This isn't over. I won't let her win. She picked up her phone and dialed her lawyer. I want every file on Zion's business, she said. And I want details about the woman in the photo. Find out everything. Where she lives, where she works, her weaknesses fast. The lawyer hesitated. Why, Ms. Maya? Maya's voice turned cold. Because I'm going to ruin them. Both of them. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, Rena helped her mom eat some soup while Zion stood beside them smiling. "Mama's getting better," Rena said cheerfully. "Soon we can go home." Zion nodded. "Yes, our new home." Sana smiled gently. "Are you sure, Zion? This is happening so fast." Zion took her hand. "I missed so many years. I want to make every day count now." Just then, a nurse entered the room with a confused look. "Mr. Zayn," she said, "there's someone downstairs asking for you. She says she's your fiancé." Zion's face went pale. Sana looked at him in surprise. "Fiancé?" Zion stood still for a moment, then his jaw tightened. "Tell her I'm not coming down," he said. But before the nurse could respond, Maya walked in. Wearing a sharp red coat and high heels, she looked like a queen ready for battle. "So," she said with a fake smile, "this is where you've been hiding." Zion turned to face her. "You shouldn't be here." Maya's eyes scanned the room, then landed on Rena. She stepped closer and whispered to Zion, "She looks like you." "Because she is my daughter," Zion replied. Maya's eyes narrowed. "And what does that make her mother? Your new queen?" Sana stood up weakly. "Who is this?" Zayn spoke firmly. "An old chapter, nothing more." But Maya wasn't done. She turned to Sana and gave a cold smile. "He didn't tell you? We were engaged once. He left me without a word. And now here he is, playing family with a child. He never cared to mention?" Sana looked at Zion, confused. Zion stepped in between them. "Maya, stop. This is not your life, not anymore." Maya's face darkened. "Oh, Zion," she said softly. "You have no idea what you've started." She turned to Rena with a fake sweet smile. "Bye, little girl. I'm sure we'll meet again." Then she walked out, calm, silent, dangerous. Sana sat down, holding her head. Zion knelt beside her. "Don't listen to her. I promise she's right," Sana said quietly. "You never told me you were engaged." Zion looked into her eyes. "Because it never mattered. I didn't love her. I love you. I always did." Rena came closer, hugging them both. But none of them knew that Maya had already started her plan, and the next time she returned, it wouldn't just be with words. Days passed. Sana slowly got better, and Rena laughed more each day. Zion had moved them into a small, warm home while he prepared something special, a new house, just for the three of them. Everything felt perfect. But far away, Maya was quietly moving her pieces like a chess master. She hadn't just been angry. She had been planning. And now, her plan was ready. It began with a letter. Zion opened his office mailbox and found a thick envelope with no name. Inside was a file. He flipped it open, and his heart dropped. Notice of investigation. Tax fraud, financial misuse, corporate. Irregularities. "What is this?" he whispered. More pages, more lies, all fake, all but well-crafted. Documents made to look real. Emails that he never wrote. Money trails that didn't exist. It was all a setup. Zion rushed to his lawyer. "This is fake. I've never done any of this." His lawyer's face was serious. "I believe you, but the people investigating won't care unless we act fast. Someone's trying to destroy your name." Zion clenched his fists. "I know who it is." Sana noticed the change. Zion was quieter, worried. He stayed up late on phone calls and skipped meals. She asked him again and again, "What's wrong?" He smiled each time and said, "Nothing, love, I'm just tired." But one night she woke up and found him sitting alone in the dark. He was crying. Zion, her strong, proud Zion, was crying like a child. She knelt beside him. "Tell me," he looked at her with broken eyes. "I might lose everything, Sana. My company, my name, everything I built. Someone is trying to burn it down." Sana held his hand tightly. "We'll fight, together." But deep inside, Zion was scared, not for himself, but for her and Rena. If this plan worked, Maya wouldn't just ruin his business, she would ruin their lives. Meanwhile, Maya watched. The news with a glass of wine and a smile. Reports flashed on TV. Zion Industries under investigation. Insider leaks reveal CEO misconduct. Stock market reacts to billionaire scandal. She leaned back and whispered, "Fall, Zion. Fall hard." But her victory wasn't complete yet, not until she broke Sana too. She called her assistant. "Send the video, now." The next morning, Sana's phone buzzed. It was a strange message from an unknown number. She opened it. A video began to play. It showed Zion and Maya, years ago, at a party, holding hands, laughing, Maya kissing his cheek, and then a photo of an engagement ring on her finger. The message below read, "He was mine first, and he still lies to you." Sana's hands shook. Her heart raced. She didn't want to believe it, but the video felt real. Zion walked in with breakfast and saw her frozen face. "Sana, what's wrong?" She stood up, trembling. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" She showed him the phone. Zion sighed. "That's old. From before I knew who she really was, before she turned cruel. I didn't hide it because I was ashamed. I wanted to leave the past behind." Sana looked away. "But now it's coming back to destroy you, to destroy us." Zion stepped closer. "Then we face it, not by running, but by standing strong." Little Rena stood in the hallway holding her teddy bear, watching them. "Are you going to leave again, Mama?" she asked softly. Sana's eyes filled with tears. She ran to hug her daughter. "No, baby. I'm not going anywhere." Zion knelt beside them and pulled both into his arms. But outside the house, someone sat in a black car, watching through binoculars. Maya smiled as she saw the family hugging. She dialed a number. "They still think love can save them." Then, her voice turned cold. "Start phase 2. Hit the company, freeze all accounts. I want him broken." That night, Zion's office went dark. His cards stopped working. His company accounts were frozen, and his top employees began quitting. One by one, everything he built started falling like dominoes. Zion sat in silence. He whispered, "She's not stopping." Sana took his hand. Then she said the one thing he didn't expect. "Let her come. We're not afraid anymore." Zion had nothing left to hide. His company was frozen. His name was in the news. His staff had left him. But one thing still stood strong: his family. Sana never left his side. Rena kept smiling at him every morning. And in their small home full of love, he found something stronger than money. But he knew Maya wouldn't stop. Not until she destroyed everything. One cold morning, Zion got a message from an unknown number. "Meet me. One chance to fix this. Come alone." It was from Maya. Sana begged him not to go, but Zion looked into her eyes and said, "This ends today." Zion drove to an empty warehouse just like Maya had told him. She stood there, dressed in black, smiling like a hunter. "Well, look at you," she said. "The mighty Zion. No guards, no money, no power." Zion walked up calmly. "Why, Maya, what do you really want?" She laughed coldly. "You chose a beggar woman and her poor child over me. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. Now I'm returning the favor." Zion nodded slowly. "You can take my money. You can lie to the world, but you can't take away who I am." Maya's smile faded. He stepped closer. "You're scared. That's why you're doing this. Because you couldn't handle being left behind." "You think I'm scared?" she shouted. Suddenly, the warehouse doors opened. A camera crew walked in. News reporters, lawyers, investigators, and behind them, Sana, holding Rena's hand. Zion turned to Maya and said, "You made one mistake. You forgot who I really am." A voice echoed from the crowd. "This entire conversation is recorded." One of Zion's loyal friends, a lawyer, stepped forward. "We traced all the fake documents, all the money links, right to Maya." Another reporter added, "We've seen enough." "This scandal was a setup." Maya's face turned pale. "You tricked me," she whispered. Zion looked her in the eyes. "You tricked yourself, Maya. You thought I was weak because I showed love. He took Sana's hand, but love made me stronger than ever. Later that night, news broke across every screen. Zion cleared of all charges. Woman behind setup arrested. Maya Khan faces jail for corporate fraud, blackmail. Rising again, billionaire CEO credits family. For saving him, Zion stood outside the same hospital where it all began. Reporters asked him, "What will you do now?" He looked down at Rena and smiled. "I'll rebuild everything. But not alone, I have my family now, and that makes me richer than I ever was." Sana wiped away a tear. Then Zion turned to the hospital director and said something that made the whole city talk. "I'm opening a new wing here, for the poor, for people like Sana, for kids like Rena. No one will be turned away again because of money." The director was shocked. "Free treatment? That's incredible." Zion nodded. "Kindness saved me. It's my turn now." That night, in their new home, Rena ran around laughing while Zion and Sana watched from the sofa. No more secrets, no more lies, just peace. Rena climbed into her mother's lap and whispered, "Mama, are we happy now?" Sana smiled and kissed her forehead. "Yes, baby, we're finally home." Zayn held them both and whispered, "And this time, no one can take it from us."